Hey YouTube, I'm Dr. Ryan Somerville and I'm a composer. And I'm excited to share with you today my discussion with the brilliant writer Jake Lazarowitz, BAFTA Scotland New Talent Award-winning cinematographer Alan McLaughlin, and famed Scottish composer Nigel Osborne, as we discuss how we produced my orchestral music experience, De Novo. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Ryan Somerville, and I'm incredibly excited to have some of my favorite collaborators with me today. We're here to talk about a project that was incredibly important to my composer career and my definition of being an artist. And so with me today, I have one of my closest friends and collaborators, Jake Lazarowitz, and Jake's based in LA. And we have Nigel Osborne, who's the former Reed Chair Professor of Music and esteemed composer, who I can't even really go on for the list of credits. But for me, who I kind of remember the most, besides being my primary PhD supervisor and one of the most important music teachers I've ever had, but his music therapy career and how that's really how I always connected with him. Like, I always think of Nigel as a composer, but he's also his equal parts as being a music therapist. Sorry. And so how I always connected that with Nigel was his international presence, and that always kind of set the bar very high for me because I always wanted to reach that level. I think I'm getting close, but I think he's like you're still probably further than I am. And then we have Alan, who's on the bottom left there. Alan, I've known, who's been like one of this incredibly talented cinematographer who has visualized some of my earliest works in film. And when I think of videos of my work, I think of Alan. Alan has been like the guy who I always want to visualize my music with. When I see Alan's work, he kind of captures the grandiose world that I try to create with my music. And I've been equally inspired by his work. I mean, we're here to talk about De Novo, and De Novo was the focal point of my PhD in music composition, with who I studied under with Nigel here. And it was kind of my beginning way to define myself as a composer and as an artist. And I was kind of pushing myself to very experimental boundaries. And the reason I've been thinking about this project a lot recently is because I'm at this point in my career where I'm trying to get back to the time I was then. I'm trying to get back and capture that kind of experimental spirit of my work, because I kind of feel like I've lost that. Maybe not lost it, but I pushed my artistic self to the side a little bit. But De Novo is a concert hall experience. And what I mean by concert hall is music performed by an orchestra. And I pushed that into further definition by according like bits of music theater and set design and costume design to make it theatrical. And the idea is to kind of heighten the traditional orchestral experience. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Jake tell us a little bit about the story and your kind of original vision of
it. The original story of De Novo was supposed to be a comic book. So coming out of college, I was reading a lot of Alan Moore, especially, and Watchmen played a huge role and this was before Watchmen was a TV show and Watchmen was a movie. It was still grounded in in the book for us. So that was a huge influence on this story. And De Novo was, was interesting because, similarly to what you and Nigel were talking about when I joined the call, it came from a place of fear, really. Instead of being optimistic about the future, it was like kind of looking at the things we were doing wrong and the things that scared me personally about the future itself. And so this idea of dystopia and the stuff that Alan Moore was talking about in Watchmen, and the fear of the 70s and the 80s, and the fear of Nixon always being president for the rest of our lives was something that I felt based on what Bush was doing and the war at the time. So I kind of took that, and I was also really kind of obsessed with Blade Runner and the aesthetic of cyberpunk, which has kind of come back now, which is interesting. But that kind of aesthetic was very interesting to me. And I think I wanted to write something that was science fiction, but also very grounded in reality so that it was believable enough. And that's kind of where the idea came from, was like, we are overpopulating the world. What is going to happen? I think a lot of people on the more optimistic side would say, well, we'll go to other planets, or we'll go somewhere else and we'll start colonizing other worlds, and then people will be able to leave Earth and Earth can breathe again. No, that's bullshit. We're not doing any of that. We're stuck here. So what happens when the world is overpopulated and we use up all of our resources? And that was kind of the seed for the idea of De Novo, and what it kind of evolved into. And I think Ryan led a lot of this ideation, but what it kind of evolved into was very theatrical and symphonic. And I think it fits very well for the story, which is about a doctor who is practicing medicine underground in this world where anyone who gets sick is held without medicine and basically forced to die, even from the smallest sickness or illness. That kind of evolved into this larger story, and doing some world building, and it was a pretty wild experience to be a part of.
Thanks for checking out part 1 of our discussion into the making of De Novo. Be sure to tune in next week for part 2, when we speak more with Nigel to learn about his approach to conducting the music. Thanks again for watching.